Спасибо.
Thank you very much.
Футболист, когда забивает свой первый
Football
гол,
player, when he makes
он
his
часто
first
забирает
goal,
мяч
very
себе
often takes the
куда-то
ball
в
to
личный музей.
himself
У меня
and
сегодня есть такой
to
мячик.
his
Это мой первый
private museum.
доклад
I
на
have this
такую
ball.
широкую
This is my
аудиторию.
first
И
presentation
я с
for such a
удовольствием
wide
подарю его
audience. So
тому,
I will give it
кто
to the
догадается, за
person
какую футбольную
who
команду
will
я болею.
guess
У меня
for
в
which football team
у
I
меня в
am
презентации
a
будут
fan.
небольшие пасхалки.
In my presentation, there will be some
Зовут
tips
меня...
or
кликер.
which football team I am a fan of. Where's my clicker?
Зовут меня Егоров
Here
Алексей.
it is.
Я
My name is Alexey
архитектор
Yegorov.
стратегических
I'm
проектов
the
компании Positive Technologies.
architect in positive
И
technologies for
сегодня
strategic
я
projects.
расскажу вам
And today I'm going to tell you about
Ну, Андрей уже, конечно, немножко проспойлерил, да, про
Andrei.
футбол и про кибербез,
I'm going to speak
проведя
about
какую-то
football and
определенную аналогию
cybersecurity
между
by making certain
различными
analogy
процессами,
between
происходящими там и
different
там.
processes
Вот,
which
мы
are happening
находимся
in both
на
of those
прекрасной
arenas.
арене Лужники, и наверняка
We are
многие из вас
at the wonderful
присутствовали
Luzhniki
здесь
arena, and many of you have
на
been present here
каких-то классных
during
триумфальных
some
мероприятиях,
great
например, может быть, кто-то помнит, здесь в
sports
2008 году
events.
был
Maybe
финал
you
Лиги
remember in
чемпионов.
2008 there was a
Я вот как
finals
сейчас
of
помню,
League of Champions. I remember it
мне
as today,
тогда
as it was happening
пришлось целую
yesterday.
неделю мыть посуду
Back
для того,
then,
чтобы родители
I've been
разрешили
washing
посмотреть
dishes
вечерний
back
футбол.
then for
Как
my
тогда
parents to let me
Криштиано
watch
Роналду
the
упал,
football when Cristiano
пробивая
Ronaldo
пенальти. А нет, Криштиано
fell
Роналду не
down when
забил,
he
Джон
was
Терри
making
упал.
penalty.
Вот.
John
И
Terry
тогда
fell
Манчестер
down when
стал
he was making
чемпионом.
penalty, and Manchester became a champion.
2018 год, чемпионат мира.
2018,
Нога
the World
Акинфеева.
Cup.
Наверняка многие
Against
помнят это. Это
favor.
проходило
Many
здесь, это
remember
проходило
this, and it was
на этой
happening
прекрасной
here
арене.
on this
И,
wonderful arena.
естественно, я решил
So,
провести
naturally speaking,
аналогию
I
между
decided to make an
футболом и
analogy between
кибербезом, потому что я
football
сам
and
люблю футбол,
cybersecurity
я играю в
because I
футбол,
myself, I love
и
football, I play football,
буду, ну, и смотрю, естественно, футбол.
and I'm
Вот.
watching football.
Начнем
I watch
немножко
football.
с
So I would
исторической
like to
аналитики.
begin with some historical analytics.
Как было в английской премьер-лиге в
Like in the British
2024 году.
Prime League in the year 2014-2024. This is the tour table, which shows that it was ranked by missed goals, and it shows that teams, which according to the results of the league games are staying on the prize places, top places, they miss less goals. But teams who, according to this tour spreadsheet, miss more goals, they are in the end of this table and they lose the championship in the end. And at the bottom you see analytics in a time range from 2014 till 2024, and it shows the number of missed goals during the season by one team. In the red color, you can see the goals missed by the team that took the last place, and the green by the team that took the first place. And you can see a certain analogy of the teams that take the final places and they miss more and more. At the same time, teams who, according to the results of the championship, stay in the first place, they don't miss a lot. It tells us that effective defense helps us to create resultative actions during attack. So let's see how it happens with our FPL. This spreadsheet is very updated. I've done it recently. Everything is very similar, but Russian Prime League is not so resultative as British. But nevertheless, teams that miss less goals are in the top part of the table. Those who miss more are at the bottom. But there was one unique case, the Fakel team. It's on the last place. But what is interesting, it didn't miss more than everybody else. And the last two will be day after tomorrow. Naturally speaking, in history, there are unique cases. And in the APL 92-93, Norwich team took the prize place by missing more than making goals. What it tells us about? It tells us that for every club, tactics of achieving certain results will not always be aligned with tactics of other clubs, and each club creates these tactics on the basis of some specific non-admissible events.
недопустимые
So let's see what are those non-admissible events in football.
недопустимые события формируют для себя.
Non-admissible events are formed for the club by themselves. For somebody, it can be a number of missed goals. For somebody else, it can be a loss of a place in a tour table.
Футбольного клуба зависят от
The results of the football club depend on the players who play on the field. And for some club, it is important that the key player
выходил на поле и играл.
would play more often on the field. So when he is traumatized or lost, it can be a non-admissible event for them.
Все примерно так же. Для каких-то компаний недопустимым
In cybersecurity, everything is the same. For some companies, inadmissible event is the theft of a certain size of amount of money from the accounts of the company. For some other company, it can be a simple
или недоступность какого-то
loss of a critical service or non-availability of the critical service for a certain period of time. And news agenda tells us that theft of a certain amount of personal data can also become a non-admissible event for the company.
Важно отметить, что
It is important to point out that all non-admissible events, both in football and in cybersecurity, they have an important and precise criteria. The quantitative parameters. As I previously have told you, these can be the total amount of thefts or the downtime. And the non-admissible event term from information security, you can see it on the slide. Well, in addition to missed goals in football, there are made goals. In addition to defense, there is attack. There are matches which are lost and there are matches which are won. So let's make attacking actions in football as analogy. So let's look on the goals of the FC. Each FC has their own goals. This can be a certain number of goals made during a season, during a game. The goal can be make more goals than your partner, win a tour, and keep the leading players within your FC. Speaking about the organization which wants to earn money, the goals can be the following: get a certain amount of revenue, win over a competitor in honest competition, provide access to critically important services only for your own clients or users, and protect leading employees so that during next season they would achieve more effective results. So by making this analogy between football and cybersecurity, I can say that football is profit. So then we have a question. Maybe we shouldn't pay attention to the defense. Let's go into attack. We'll make goals. We'll achieve good financial results. So what about defense? Well, we'll figure it out later.
Так вот, вот этот вопрос, именно вопрос распределения.
So this is a question of resource distribution between attack and defense and main operational activities of the company. This is a cornerstone question. So when the budget is being formed for the information security purposes, it is important that defense would be profitable. In other words, those means and time which is spent for providing cybersecurity should not exceed potential damage from inadmissible events. So let's see how this effective cybersecurity acts. In order to make a goal so that cyber criminal wouldn't have allowed the inadmissible event, he should do certain actions for this inadmissible event. He should spend time, do certain manipulations, etc. So let's specify a certain matrix which is called TTA, time to attack. It's the time which cybercriminal spends to create this inadmissible event. Therefore, together with the cyber attacker, it's been countermeasures are being created by Cyber Defender. So in order to keep him out from his side of the field, Cyber Defender should spend certain time. We call it TTR, time to response, time that the Cyber Defender needs to discover and stop cyber attacker. So we have a question. How should we build this effective defense so that cyber attacker would not be able to create a non-admissible event, and defender should have enough time to respond? So the goals are to slow down the cyber attacker, increase the time he needs for realization of an admissible event, and at the same time allow the cyber defender to catch cyber attacker as fast as possible. Let's look in more detail how these matrices can help cybersecurity incident investigation. In here, you can see a time graph shows that time to attack is a time from the moment when the criminal have received initial access into the infrastructure, all the way to the moment of realization of inadmissible event. And the time to response is a time when Cyber Defender spends from the moment when it became understandable to him what should he react for, and all the way to the moment when reaction was completed and the incident was investigated. In order for non-admissible event not to happen, we should slow down cyber attacker and speed up Cyber Defender. And the target picture looks the following way. On account of different techniques and manipulations that I'm going to speak about a little bit later, attack, the time that is required for non-admissible event realization for the criminal is being extended. And the reaction time that is needed by cyber defenders is reduced. And defender has an opportunity to react before non-admissible event happens. Some statistical information. Incident investigations in 23-24 tells us that approximately one quarter of projects almost 25%. Criminals needed from 8 to 30 days to realize inadmissible event. And in one-third of projects, they required from 5 to 7 days. While the time that was needed by defenders to discover the criminal in their infrastructure, in 25% cases it was over 2 months. It's awful to imagine if these numbers would be connected to one project. The pen test results tell us that in almost half of projects, white hackers needed from 3 to 6 steps to receive access into the infrastructure of the client. While all the tactics and techniques they've been using have completely been covered by the protection measures on the level of infrastructure. And attack analytics tells us that on the third place, amongst the most common reasons of successful attacks, is the deficient network segmentation. Okay, let's try to understand about the stages of the projects to increase cyber defense of the organization. On the first stage, top managers of the company, those who are responsible for the business part, they form certain non-admissible events for the business. Then, these non-admissible events are lending to the IT landscape
как на ладони.
And in result, we immediately see the
As a
short
result, we can see this like a shortest path of attack to the target system, and the attackers, by compromising the system, they can initiate this unauthorized event. So we can see the systems which require some additional monitoring, also business processes which possibly have to be changed. We can see users with excessive rights and also some network connections which have to be broken. All of this is, built into resultative cybersecurity strategy, and we find some points of attention, such as educating our employees and transforming different business processes and hardening of the target and key systems, as well as monitoring and incident prevention in information security at early stages. Of course, this focus point, they have direct impact on the metrics that we've mentioned before. I mean, time to attack and time to response. Right at these diagrams, you can see highlighted in red successful attacks, I mean the percentage of successful attacks, and attempts to react or respond by cyber defenders. And the cyber attackers have every chance to implement unauthorized event simply because the cyber defenders begin to act with a time lag after this unauthorized event has already taken place. After hardening of the key systems has been done, cyber defenders can react to a very small portion of an incident due to this increased time that the attacker needs to be able to go through the target or key system, the one to compromise. After that, we need to increase our monitoring. I mean, to increase the percentage of how we cover our infrastructure, so that cyber defenders will have enough time to respond to the material part of the incident due to better detection. But also on stage 3 it is not enough of time and effort for the cyber defender to be able to, to fully stop or prevent unauthorized event. And also this improvement in response time and quality give the defenders time to react or to respond to the overwhelming part of the incident because they do it sooner. This perspective to the cybersecurity through this approach is, of course, an evolution to the requirements for the network infrastructure. And while, until recently, standards for the network, corporate network architecture was like, as long as our services, in the network would be working efficiently, and this can be decomposed to let's minimize some latency when providing access to this service, and also bandwidth. But after implementing these RCP projects in order to prevent unauthorized events through system hardening and using IST security tools, of course, this demand is evolving, and it sounds like, okay, so any company's network architecture should allow for the high-tiered or high-layered defense without decreasing efficiency of its internal services. Any projects about the resultative cybersecurity? It means lots of actions which begin with the number one, hardening of your infrastructure. I will put it this way. It's using your network devices and the key services organization according to best practices. And also that means that you have a maximum coverage of your infrastructure by monitoring And of course, training of your employees and SOCs employees to be able to respond in the right way to those incidents which may happen in your infrastructure. And many people have questioned at this point, how do we evaluate effectiveness, efficiency of those actions which have been done during this very painstaking and very time-consuming job? One of the ways is analyzing your protective level by different vulnerability scanners. This would be, of course, pen testing when you're trying to identify a certain scope of systems which will be tested using your penetration tests and white hats. Then red team, basically the same pen test, right? But except the cyber defenders team now have the chance to respond to a potential attackers. And also cherry the cake, this will be bug bounty. I'm not going to dwell on the bug bounty because today in the program we'll have a separate presentation on bug bounty, and it will be covered in this presentation. And finalizing, I want to say that a football or a soccer club, any football club is about a great number of people. This would be players, and this would be coaching staff, massagers, doctors, and masseuses, you know. Those people who may not seem like they're directly involved in playing football in the field. This could be economists, PR service, financial service, and scouts, and many different staff. Each and every one of them is doing their own thing and they believe that, hey, what I'm doing is very important, maybe most important because I love it. And all of them, the whole team may not be realizing that the total outcome of this huge organization by the name of football team, it begins with 7 people in different positions on the football field, which is, of course, done by a trainer. And network architecture is made by an architect. And network architecture should allow for the efficient use of the security tools and provide for the widest possible monitoring and also the operation of the service in this system. And network architects is he or she is the person who identifies how efficient this whole IT infrastructure is going to operate in a given company, in a given organization. It's a professional skill which will define the level of success of the whole company. Using this analogy of the football, very inefficient trainer after a bad trainer, usually they resign, right? Their contract will not be renewed. So let us be efficient and let us be cool in terms of being network architects, and let's make sure that we stay in the game for the next season. Thank you for your attention, guys. Thank you, Alexei. And adding to this question about a football club, for the next question we're going to give a book, Audit of the Information System based on Linux, and you can come up with Alexei. Well, guys, what do you think? What do you think? Who wants the book? Who wants to get the book? Now, any question, please? Yeah, right there, right there. Hi, thanks for this presentation. My name is Dimitri. I've really enjoyed your analogy with a football club. Here's my question. Let's say I have a web application and I have this soccer club, and I evaluate my club to be worth like a 1 million ruble. You know, the app or the club is valued at 1 million. What do you think? How much should I spend on its defense, percentage-wise, from this capital kind of cost? Thank you.
оттолкнуться не просто от оценки, да, приложения $1 миллион рублей.
It is not only about evaluating your application like it's worth of 1 million rubles, but at the same time, we have to think about the potential cost of fending off unauthorized event which may happen by this application being hacked. Like if this app is some kind of a landing of a company in a cloud, and if
плохой баннер, да, это определенное событие, которое может воздействовать там разве что репутационно на компанию. Если это приложение, от которого зависит основная операционная деятельность компании, то вряд ли вы оцените эту операционную деятельность там, в $1 миллион рублей. Естественно, ущерб от взлома этого приложения будет гораздо больше. Поэтому, естественно, стоит отталкиваться от потенциального ущерба. Не слышно вас.
No, I cannot hear you. I'm sorry.
Нет, естественно, меньше. Но сама методология просчета, она довольно сложная, она там опирается на различные риски и так далее. У нас здесь на площадке, я знаю, что есть стенд, где стоят коллеги, которые как раз осуществляют формирование недопустимых событий для бизнеса. И вот этот вопрос, если вы им зададите, они будут очень рады на него ответить. Спасибо. Так, давайте следующий. Вот там вот в конце рука. Сейчас вам микрофон дадут.
Yeah, mic, please. Mic runners.
А вот вон человек стал.
Yeah, somebody standing right there.
Добрый день, Алексей, спасибо за доклад.
Alexei, thanks a lot for this presentation. My name is Michael.
Вы говорили по поводу ТТА и ТТР.
You were speaking about TTI and TTR. Those are great metrics and very, very productive metrics in cybersecurity. And, for any company to be able to allocate right amount of money and also to understand what they're doing and how, and, they have to do the right math in terms of calculating these metrics. What would be your advice and how, in what way should we calculate these metrics? Do I have to do ongoing pen tests? This would be very expensive for a company. And also to keep red team, it's also very costly, right? It costs some money. You have to spend money on very highly skilled professionals doing simulations. Can I write it on paper? I do not believe this will be efficient, so I'd like to get your perspective on that.
Хорошо. Спасибо за вопрос. Смотрите, метрики в первую очередь рассчитываются как относительно пути проникновения в инфраструктуру. Этот путь, по сути, это граф такой доступности, да, он строится на основе доступности ресурсов между собой, это раз, и два, от наличия уязвимостей на тех или иных ресурсах. Поэтому расчет метрик — это, наверное, такой довольно важный и ключевой момент при реализации проектов РКБ. И это стоит делать, учитывая, во-первых, покрытие мониторингом инфраструктуры и, как я ранее сказал, уязвимостей в сервисах, которые есть на пути проникновения. Ну и я тоже как того, кто спросил предыдущий вопрос, посоветую подойти на стенд РКБ, где как раз будут присутствовать коллеги, кто занимается вот этим вот первоначальным этапом работы именно с топ-менеджерами при формировании допустимых событий и расчете метрик. Спасибо. Вот рука.
Добрый день, спасибо за доклад, очень интересно. У меня вопрос, был слайд, где вы говорили, что изначально нам важно было время отклика инфраструктуры. Да, ИБ, понятно, снижает время отклика из-за самого факта наличия ИБ. В конце была табличка, что в идеале у нас время отклика инфраструктуры должно оставаться таким же, как без применения ИБ. Но вопрос в том, что на такую инфраструктуру, на построение такого ИП в инфраструктуре, который не будет влиять на время отклика, можно потратить бесконечное просто количество денег. Вам не кажется, что, наверное, должна применяться такая стратегия, которая сбалансирует там, время отклика инфраструктуры и финансы, там, затраченные на построение такой инфраструктуры?
Я у тебя ответ, да? Ну, давайте немножко расширим. И тоже прорекламирую доклад, который у нас будет сегодня. Сегодня коллеги будут рассказывать как раз вот про взаимодействие команд ИБ и IT, да? Ну, наверное, это такие ключевые команды, на основании деятельности которой строится инфраструктура и, собственно, ИБ. Ну и, естественно, построение эффективной киберзащиты — это диалог. Это диалог, когда ключевые игроки в компании, да, на стороне ИБ договариваются, аргументируя какими-то определенными тезисами те или иные действия, которые будут в инфраструктуре приведены и к чему это приведет. Естественно, бизнес, да, заинтересован, чтобы лучший ИБ — это ИБ, которую не видно, да, но при этом ИБ должна защищать бизнес от реализации недопустимых событий. Спасибо. Мне понравился вопрос про время ТТА и ТТР. Книжку сейчас передам. Спасибо.
Спасибо, коллеги. Thank you, Alexei. Thanks a lot. Yeah.